Welcome to the show, everyone, where we encourage career advancement, entrepreneurship, as well as share practical tips and strategies for personal and professional growth. Hey, friends, I'm your host, Nicole Palmer, and I am glad you're here. Well, today in the guest seat, well, before I even tell you who is in the guest seat today, I'm going to say that I've always been a hot chocolate girl. Always been hot chocolate is always hot chocolate all the way for me. Well, that was until, I actually came across this coffee lifestyle brand. And I say lifestyle brand, and you'll understand why I say lifestyle brand instead of just a coffee brand. When I came across this brand who basically are bringing centuries old coffee and coffee flavors and aromas of the Caribbean to the world. And so with that said, I'm going to introduce my guest for today. And my guest here is Beverly Malbranche. I think I said that name correctly, right?
Yes, right.
Sister, and of course, the founder of Caribou, who is making a real difference and impact in a big way with the Haitian coffee. Not only is she bringing us coffee-inspired food and beauty products, but the brand is deeply invested in Haiti's economy. And of course, this brand, as celebrities like Beyonce, Gabrielle Union, and of course, Taraji P. Henson, all talking about it. And so welcome to the show. I'm Beverly.
Thank you, Nicole, for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Okay, awesome. Tell our audience about yourself.
Sure. So, hi, everyone. My name is Beverly, as Nicole mentioned. I am originally from Haiti. So I came to the US about 10 years ago and started college. And I remember my very first class was Econ 101, Economics 101. And there was a list of countries by gross domestic product. And I remember seeing Haiti at the bottom of that list. And that was the first time I was really away from home and seeing how home is perceived outside of home. And I was like, oh my God. And at the time I was about 17, I was like, what can I do to help change that narrative? So even before, I was somewhat interested in business and entrepreneurship, but not as much. But then it became a goal to figure out this whole thing. Not saying that I have it figured out, but that's what got me started, at least the curiosity. So before I became, a full-time business person, I was working. I had my internship. I worked for banks like Wells Fargo, done some of that compliance work, but I was always searching. And that's how one of my family members is a big coffee drinker. And he got me hooked on Haitian coffee. And okay. I searched and I discovered how, we used to be a major coffee exporter. And I realized maybe that could be it. Maybe we could use that to make a long-term economic impact, but share also a positive narrative about Haiti and share some of our flavors, culture, and gastronomy. So yeah.
That is awesome. And when you say economy class, and because I know, when you take those classes, I was a fashion marketing major before I became a communications major. And I remember I took, an economics class because the goal was to go to FIT and study. So of course I was trying to take classes that would transfer. And I remember, of course, that's one of the things they definitely show you, like all the countries, the economic value and stuff. And of course, you see how they're ranked. So I completely understood when you said you took a look at that. And obviously the first country you're going to look for is your own, right? Because you want to see how that is perceived. That's awesome. So tell us a bit more about the Caribou brand itself.
Yeah, definitely. So Caribou is a short for Caribbean brew, and our goal is to make a difference one cup at a time. So we started with coffee. Then, of course, there are, affiliated products like hot cocoa and different stuff. So then we also ventured into some cacao beans, also from Haiti. And our goal is to really allow customers to connect with the farmers. It's not a long and disconnected supply chain. It's basically from the farmers and us, we will send package it and then to the customer. So we get to share the stories on both sides, but also, that long-term positive economic impact as well, making sure we are not buying one day, but we are here for the long run. We are here to support those farmers, those communities, and for our customers to provide them with a great product. Farm to table is very big right now, and there's a reason, because the food we eat goes to so many processes, right?
Right.
So many hands. So the fact that you get to bring craft and specialty product to the table, straight from the source, that is something customers do resonate with. And we are making sure we are providing them good product, good customer service, and a nice experience. Well, they get to, I like to say, get it on a cultural getaway to our product, to get to experience them,
Right.
and form bonds with the people who go there. So yeah, we have now coffee, hot chocolate, and we have a couple of other products as well that we are able to source from different farms in Haiti.
That's awesome. So I have here the coffee.
Almost,
And of
yeah.
course it smells so awesome. So awesome. I tell you, I've never been a coffee fan, but this changed it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm mad that I didn't get any of the moisturizers and any of those
Yeah.
coffee inspired skincare and merch. I'm loving
Thank
this little
you.
bag that it came in. So love it. I'm gonna find something else to do with it. But this is awesome branding, like in terms of brand elements and stuff. Okay, so
Thank you. We
talk a bit
try. It's a lot of work, but we try to represent, the culture and stuff in our, branding and
right,
whatnot.
awesome. Yes, because I was looking at the logo itself,
Yeah.
and seeing different, because of course from the Caribbean there's certain stuff that you can recognize from other islands and stuff, and of course
Yeah.
going through your website, it was great just seeing a lot of that element that makes you feel like you're experiencing the Caribbean throughout your branding and stuff, so that the experience, you guys did a great job with creating that experience.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's something that, because you're in it, you're around it, sometimes you don't get to see, the outcome of it, but I'm really happy to get it from your, perspective.
Right,
Because sometimes I'm so much around it, it's easy to like not realize, oh, I have
right.
this flower here, I have this there, but I'm glad.
Or
Yeah.
take it for granted, obviously. I mean, I'm a personal brand strategist, and I mean, I always tell people it's easier to work with other people's brand than to work with your own, because I'm not as close to theirs and I'm not as emotionally tied, so I'm able to be a
Yeah.
little bit more critical. So I definitely understand that. Okay, so talk to us a bit about the idea to go from say just coffee, food, in terms of food items, to
Mhm.
skincare, and now I know you guys are offering merch.
Yeah, so basically, there were a lot of people who were not coffee drinkers, or maybe not yet,
Right,
who wanted to support. They like what we were doing, they wanted to be a part of it. So, and we find, because first and foremost, before coffee, it was Haiti for me. It was
right,
trying to make that impact. So
right,
if I can partner with cacao farmers who can grow the beans that make chocolate, or people who grow things like turmeric and ginger, because usually the way the farms, they don't have only one crop. They would probably have mostly coffee trees, but there are other crops that take less
right,
time to grow that they have around the farm. So if
right,
there is a market for it, why not source some of these other products as well? And then the merch became part of the brand. Like we have this thing that my coffee keeps me woke,
right,
and and it's, I love it because it gets to speak about the cultural and the economic impact, and that we are being intentional about supporting those people. But also on like a funny quirky side, it's like, yeah, of course it's gonna keep you woke, it's coffee.
right. So it's
So
literal and not literal at the same time. Got it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that. Okay. And with launching the brand and sourcing and all that stuff, of course, there's a lot of challenges that you're gonna come across. What's one major obstacles or challenges you've had to face while launching the brand, and how did you overcome that?
I would say it's there are so many. One of them is logistics, because you're coming new to this, and we so use Amazon, like bigger brands make it so much easier, but they have built such an infrastructure around that logistics that we get to enjoy stuff on a quick,
Right.
very quickly. But especially because we've been around for about 3 years now, so a good amount of it was during COVID. And shipping was delayed, everything was delayed. We didn't know what to tell customers. So that was a big, big challenge, but we are thankful that people were patient. They
Right.
understood the time we were in. And then the second biggest challenge is also financing, because there are some things you have to buy ahead of time. So
Right.
how do you work around having the funds to keep that customer experience, give them that nice package, or all the things that you deliver? How do you keep up with that
Right.
when you don't, you kind of, I got into the business with a passion, not necessarily, oh, I had the money and I'm just going to start this business.
Right.
So
Right,
yeah.
I get that. And one of the huge, and I'm with you said with the finances, one of the huge challenge for Black and woman-owned businesses is
Yeah.
financing. Of course, when you think about VC funding and all that other stuff, it's a huge business, but woman-owned, especially Black woman-owned business, don't get too much of that funding. How did you go about solving your funding, or funding the venture itself?
Yeah, so first, we work part-time to kind of make this work. But
Right.
then the biggest game changer has been applying for grants and business competition. And we've had to pitch, not necessarily because I like to pitch, but because I had to raise the money.
Right.
Our first so before I was working full time, then it got very busy between the business and the work. So I became, work remotely kind of part time. Then I realized I have to go all in. So by June 2020, that's when I became a full time entrepreneur. So to keep on financing that growth, we applied for business competition like crazy. Like I have my youngest brother, he was finishing his undergrad at Rutgers University, and there was a business pitch competition. So I had him apply just so that we could get in, and that's how we got the first $10,000 to kind of work on the business and grow and get some inventory.
Right.
Since then, we've done some business competition. There have been some grants for women-owned businesses, especially Black women-owned businesses. Those have been very instrumental, because without them, I don't know, probably we would have been not necessarily closed, but we wouldn't be happy with the offerings. There's no way we could have gone to manufacturing and print thousands of bags to make sure we are not
Right.
running out. It's so simple, but
Right.
it's like without this packaging, then my storytelling for the brand is no longer the
Right.
same.
And of course, telling your brand story is key when it comes
Yeah.
to, definitely awesome. And you guys are, like I said, you guys are doing an awesome job of telling that story, and that story is selling and doing the work for you. Okay. And I understand, of course, with the financial challenges and stuff, sometimes it's easy to get disheartened and, fall into that trap of, that mentality because you don't have the
Mhm.
funding and stuff. How important was it for you to adopt a wealth mindset for business growth?
This is so important, because I had to think, of a place of abundance, like what you said.
Right.
There was a point where I was like, no, I'm not going back to giving customers, what I was doing 3 years ago. Um, One of it was just like find out what more resources do we have. You keep your standard the same. Like, this is how I want my brand to look, how I want my packaging to look, or even my social media, right? So how do I meet that? I'm not going to lower the standard because I have less funds. I'm going to figure out how to get more funds to meet that standard.
Understood.
So that helps. And then you become very resourceful. Like, for example, if there's a flyer you need done, you can't really pay a graphic designer to get it out for you. You go on something called Canva or some other platform and create it yourself with some of the technology out there. So you could be, and that's the thing, when you are an online brand, you could still be small, but the way you present yourself on the internet, you look much bigger because everything is nice and neat.
Right.
So it's like, being resourceful and say, how do we keep our higher standard, and how do we like make it happen without having to lower the standard and give people like, lower quality experiences. We wouldn't want that.
Right. I hope everyone is listening to all this nuggets that she's dropping. I mean, things that we all got to pay attention to when it comes to building our brand. Okay, so I know, of course, the brand, as I see tagged onto, of course, the
Yeah.
all about, Black owned, woman owned, and of course, one of the key parts of the brand is social impact.
Yeah.
I know that through fair business partnerships, you are helping to create income, provide better access to education, and of course, helping to contribute to strengthening Haiti communities. Okay,
Yeah.
how do you go from bringing a product to fruition and building a brand, bringing it to market, and then providing technical assistance through
Mhm.
no interest loan funds and
Mhm.
stuff like that to the farmers that you work with? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, well, good question. Yeah, she has a question waiting. One of the things it's part of having that long-term relationship, right, in mind. If the people who are producing those products, they are not happy or they don't necessarily have the support needed, you will end up at the end with crappy product. Because it takes a lot of work to water the plant, to grow the plant, to like harvest by hand and dry them. So, if people are frustrated, are probably not going to go the extra mile. So how do we work? So usually the farmers, they create this association of or group where they borrow money among themselves to grow their plants to be able to live off, right? So
Right.
then many times they go to the bank to get a loan, because before you can finally sell the coffee, you have to be the plant goes for about 8 months, sometimes 6 months. Then after that, so all this time you're watering and taking care of it. Then you have to harvest it. Then it goes through a washing process, then it goes through a drying process. So usually you need people to come help you to do all of that before you have the final green bean that you can sell to someone who's going to roast or even export. So if you go to the bank, they're going to charge you an interest rate. And people are always, it's always hard for them to live day by day. Then now you're paying interest to prepare a crop that you might not even have a dedicated buyer who's going to buy it at the end of this whole process. So where we come in is like, okay, we are the dedicated buyer. We'll be buying from you. And what we will do is we'll provide a deposit on this harvest that will come next year. So now instead of going to the bank and get, a loan, you don't really have to do that. You can use that deposit to get everything you need in order and get that coffee ready. So that's what we call without any interest, being able to have that deposit there. And that helps them. And that will help us in the long run in terms of creating that long-term partnership and trust.
Right. That's awesome. That's really, really smart. And see, because we love nothing better than coffee that makes a difference, I'm definitely going to be dropping a link, a coupon code. Of course, I'll give you a coupon. You can use Nicole Palmer when you head to the caribou.com website, or you can click on the link that we're going to have in the show notes for you to head on over and shop. And of course, you'll be able to get a discount when you shop coffee that makes a huge difference. Okay, so now
Awesome.
okay, so now to get a little bit more into entrepreneurship and building a career and a brand. I know, of course, with that vulnerability, and even as women, it's vulnerability sometimes either is seen as soft, or sometimes as women, if we're too aggressive,
Yeah.
and, it's seen different ways. So women versus men are viewed differently. However, I feel that without vulnerability, it's hard to be successful, because you can't you can't have success without vulnerability. But
Mhm.
so can you share with us a failure, how you've handled that, and the lesson learned from that?
Wow. Definitely. I mean, there's been many bumps, on the road. One of them, I have one that's more business and then one that's more personal. One of them more business. I had this big event. It was the New York Coffee Festival. That was back in 2019. And at the time I was very new to the business, our shipment came in later, like after the event. So I had this opportunity to be in front of like 10,000 people, a big auditorium, and I did not even have enough product. So sometimes there are delays, there are things that happen. You just need to figure out, okay, how do I minimize loss or even recover from this? So what we did, I always have someone local. Even if you get your flyers online or any of that stuff, always have a local supplier. I went to my local supplier and got some flyers. So at the event, I did not have product to sell, but I was doing a lot of promotion. I didn't have enough coffee to give people like, a little tasting cup. And I did a lot of promotion, pass out flyers, but that was a big hit because you pay for your booth, you pay for all of this, like, banner and all that stuff. Then the things you need did not come on time. So that was a big challenge, but we were able to make some customers there, because there are some people who came on our website later,
Right.
and say they discovered also the New York Coffee Fest back in 2019.
And we all know that those major event, those booths are not cheap.
No, they
We all know they are not cheap.
they are not, and it was our biggest event. We were new to this, so it was very, very stressful not seeing your stuff coming on time.
Right.
On a personal side, let me see. I've had some situation where people came to me, and so let's say I'm renting a new space for a warehouse, and because we did not have fully 3 years in business,
Right.
you needed a lot of personal kind of asset to back up, to show that you can pay for the space. And we started this kind of right out of college. So I wasn't like, oh, I worked for corporate for 20 years and I have this amount in my 401k. So, and many times the landlords are white male. And I had a situation where this guy, from the day we walked in, I think he didn't trust us to be able to afford the place. And I got very kind of a bit pissed off, because why would I take my time to come here, come see it? It was our second trip. Right. If I really know we can, why waste the time? So, and at the time we needed the space, so that didn't go well. We even had a deposit. He returned the funds. It was a whole, it was very hard, broken, because I was hoping to get that space to start the new year, to kind of start fresh with the team and all that stuff. Right. But God knew, like, the current landlord ended up having another space open. And because we've been waiting from him for over a year, right, he was able to trust us with the bigger space, although it cost more, without showing more finances, nothing, because of that previous relationship we had with him. Right. So there's always something, there's always bump. There's time you get very excited. And even the good things, like you have a big PO, a big purchase order, right, but then you're like, how am I going to finance this? Because I don't get paid until net 30 after this get delivered. So it's like a roller coaster. That's what I say. Right. It's like
entrepreneurship is risky, and you got to have thick skin, of course, to be an entrepreneur. If you're not willing to have thick skin and be able to, kind of ride it through, you will survive in entrepreneurship. Definitely. Okay. Share with us. I know mental health is a big thing, and especially for women. We are moms, we are wives, we are partners, we're business owners. Sometimes we're building the business and the career at the same time. Yeah. And of course, a bunch of other hats that we wear. How do you focus on your own mental health so that you can be healthy, grounded, and of course feel full, before you put everything into, on the line to help others or to build your brand?
Yeah. So, to be honest, I am very much learning still how to do it. Right. Because in the early stage, you have so many moving pieces, but it's essential. You have to. There are times where now I work from home. I don't necessarily have to go in. And I also learn to not, to be always in control. So sometimes when it's your business, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to know every single thing happening. Like, and then if someone, even when you outsource a task to someone else to say, okay, now you can do the social media, you're like watching them every minute, how they're doing it, right? So I've learned to let it go, because sometimes you're doing more damage to yourself, right, and to even your team, and you're adding more stress. And then the other thing, sometimes I purposefully forget about the business. Even there was once we had some suppliers, we had to make some payment, and my brother was like, I don't know how you can be so relaxed right now. I'm like, listen, this is business. You know what I mean? Just don't take everything home with you. There are things you
Right.
can prevent, by all means do that, but separate your life
Right.
with business, because there will be time where, as you said, you have to be whole to be able to do this. And
Right.
spend time with people you love, if you meditate or pray, spend time doing that. Just like step out and even a walk in nature. I think the hardest part was during COVID,
Right.
when everything was closed and you're like, okay, I'm not working, but I'm just sitting home. So it helps to do some, even a FaceTime call with some friends
Right.
out of state, that really help. And then you just take it one day at a time, like I've learned before, I used to be, oh, I have to supervise, I have to do this. Now it's more like,
Right.
okay, I'll trust you to do something. If it's wrong, then okay, we have a problem there. But
Right.
I need to even give people room to breathe and to do their own things,
Right.
so that myself, I can free up my time to do other things as well.
Definitely. I think, as we build our brand and as we start out doing so many things, and it's our baby and it's our thing, and we put so much into it. So it becomes like the hardest part to kind of give it over to someone else to do it. We start micromanaging, and instead of freeing up the time that the reason that we brought them on, we end up still, it's like,
Yeah.
but I think it's natural, and it just takes understanding that, hey, if I'm going to make this grow, it's easier to get someone who is good at that thing, let them take it
Yeah.
over. They'll report to you, but giving yourself room to do the things that really really matters to the brand, or keeps you in your genius zone.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And also be gracious to yourself, because
Right.
you did that, learn from someone. At least most of us, how to do this. Or
Right.
even when you did learn from someone, it's probably a different business and it won't be yours, right?
Right.
So there are times where I'm like, man, this lady just asked me about this. I should have like answered this way and that way. And I keep on going over
Yeah.
it. And I had to say, you know what? It's already in the past. It's okay. If she's really interested, she will come back and she might be a
Right.
potential customer. But you don't have to beat up yourself when you feel like, oh man, I kind of failed to sell my business the way I was supposed to, or to even share my story, or even be there for my coworkers or employees. Be gracious to yourself. That's something that's also very important.
Yeah, that's definitely, yeah. That's how you want to say. You got to give yourself grace, got to give yourself grace. I mean, I can be hard on myself too. And I find that sometimes I just got to learn to let go of things so that I can be able to, keep my own sanity and my peace of mind.
Mhm.
All right. So I know as women, of course, we tend to struggle with, our own perceived flaws and limitations. And therefore, we a lot of times wind up undervaluing ourselves. How do you empower yourself to stop taking the back seat and also to challenge the status quo?
Yeah. Oh, I would say, you know, when you receive feedback from other people, especially people you trust, many times it's reassuring, because you're like, oh, that idea I have, it's really working. And then you've learned over and over to trust your instinct a little bit more.
Right.
Because before it's like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. And that always comes. It's not necessarily going to stop. But then you're like, you know what? I've had this idea before, it worked. I've done this before, this worked. So let me at least give myself, the benefit of a doubt and
Right.
try it. So, and not listen also to what other people say, in terms of people who say, okay, you can do it or you shouldn't do it.
Right.
Always ask why. If there's a valid reason, I will consider it. I am a big believer in taking advices, but good advices,
Right.
but also analyze, and don't be afraid to go to other people, different groups of people, to ask for
Right.
feedback.
Right.
Um, and then, there are so many women doing so many great things. I think collectively, we are already challenging the status quo, and you're just tapping into that. And
Right.
you reach out to other women who are you look up to, or what even like in the same area, or like the same thing that you are doing or passionate about. You share, I always say that you share your resources, your support with them, and they will in return do the same for you. Then you build that support system to help you,
Right.
and even like share like opportunities that you wouldn't know on your own.
Right. Awesome. Okay. So share with our audience one advice that you have received that was necessary and priceless.
There are so many. I have been part of so many accelerator programs. And by the way, I would encourage anyone who's trying to, run their own business to take advantage of those, because many times, we just apply for pitch competition with cash value, like they give you 5,000 or 10,000. But many times those accelerator programs teach you a lot. And one of the mentors I got matched with in my previous accelerator program said, do you want to do a $100 per hour job or a $10 per hour job? So for example, when you're working on your business and you're so busy drafting for your social media, or you're so busy even answering some emails or like basic stuff, why not pay somebody else, even if it's a virtual assistant, to do that for you?
Right.
And you focus on the bigger emails that come with contract, or you focus on outreaching to larger potential customers. So stop, and that's part of like kind of letting go. You don't have to do it all, but make sure that, and that was so key, because I had, someone, an intern, help me with the social media, and I was like, oh, I have to do it because she's not doing it right, and all that stuff I have to do. And that mentor was like, do you want to be doing a $10 an hour job, or do you want to focus on, more? So that's been a big, big advice, because every time now I'm so busy doing something, I think, can this be outsourced?
Right.
So that I can do something that's more of value, and help me
I will
grow.
add. Awesome. Awesome. That's a great share. Thank you for that. Okay. What advice would you give your 21-year-old self?
Oh, wow. I would say that, stop worrying. I think for me, I worried so much, or I was always feeling like I had to be doing, like I had to have it figured out. It's like, oh my gosh, this job, where am I going, this career, this future? And the world changed. Like it took us a couple of months, and then with COVID, the world changed completely. So you don't really have that much control. I always say, do what you can and leave the rest up to God. Like, don't feel like you have to do it all. And going back, I would tell my younger self, stop worrying. It will be okay. Give more grace to yourself. And I wish I even took time to do more interesting activities. Like I was so focused even at times on like just the GPA and the goal of finishing and get a good job. I could have been taking arts or even brand design or something more fun.
Right.
I was so focused on, oh my gosh, let me check the boxes. Let me see when I'm gonna graduate. And I remember, if you graduate next semester, oh no, that's too bad. Oh, my classmates will be like going and working. I don't want to be stuck, here.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. So I would say just, enjoy the moment, be present, and stop worrying. That would have been very nice to hear when I was younger. That would have helped a lot.
Awesome. Okay. 3 traits that got you to where you are today.
Okay. I would say determined. You have to keep on pushing when you have a goal, because there's going to be many bumps, on this road. Secondly, I think also being creative. And to be honest, I am not the most creative person. I don't come from an arts background, but it's more like, okay, how do I, beyond just the product, how do I share some of the cultural heritage to this branding and packaging? I think that has helped the brand to differentiate a whole lot.
Right.
So I would say that piece of creativity, or even if, on our social media, I do make sure we show different recipes, different things you can do, like hot coffee, cold coffee, milk, no milk. So you have to be creative when you're selling a product-based, in product-based businesses. And then the last one would be to be, let's say, not necessarily friendly, but to have other people around you. Reach out to other people, show support. They will support you also. And just, for before I was very shy doing that. But basically make sure that, you're not staying on your own.
Right.
Because then you will miss on not just opportunities, but some of the partnership and the friendships. Like this past weekend, I was with one of my friends, and I had the Southwest Coffee and Chocolate Festival all the way in New Mexico. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna travel there and I'm gonna, be at my booth. I need some help. And I asked her, would you want to come with me? I will share some of my resources with you. And she was like, yeah, I will have some big events during the summer. I would love to see how you do it because you've been doing it
Right.
a couple of years, more than me. So I met her a couple of years ago, but if I wasn't keeping in touch, there was no way I could just call her to come and help me out.
Right.
So I would say be determined, be creative, and then reach out to people, build that community.
Build community, build your network.
Yes.
Awesome. They say your network is your net worth, right?
Definitely.
All right. So to close it out, I'm going to ask you a couple quick questions. We call this our lightning round. And okay. I'm going to ask you, and whatever comes to mind, just quickly, favorite compliment.
Favorite compliment, all people like to say, you have a nice smile.
Guilty pleasure.
Oh, chocolate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Best career advice or advice for the would-be entrepreneur?
For someone who wants to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I would say, well, that's Nike, but just do it.
Right. And of course, I think I can guess what the answer is going to be for this one based on your guilty pleasure answer. But okay. What would you rather talk about, tea or hot chocolate?
Oh, hot chocolate.
All right. And power outfit.
Power outfit would be some heels and let's see, jacket. Some form of jacket. Yeah.
Okay, I can see that. All right. So tell us what's next for the Caribou brand.
Yeah. So right now our goal is to really get closer to our customer, and that's by forming some retail partnership to be in some stores. So we just launched in Sprouts Farmers Market, and that's mostly on the West Coast, California, Arizona, and those states. So that's our first retail launch, and we've been very excited to get it in 300 stores. Our goal is to have more of those stores who partner with us, so like that we can not just be an online brand, but be available also nationwide at some more key locations.
I'm rooting for you guys.
Thank you.
Tell people how they can connect with you.
So if you would like to connect with me, I am on LinkedIn. It's Beverly Malbranche. It's my last name is Malbranche. I'm pretty sure if you put Beverly Caribou, I'm going to come up. Or also on our Instagram page, it's Caribou. You can DM us. We are very responsive. If there's something you would like, if there's an event you would love for us to participate, you can go on our website, email us, or just our social media. So yeah, we are always looking forward to meeting customers. So when we do more events, we will be posting as well. So if we are coming to your local area, let us know, stop by, and we would love to meet you.
Awesome. Okay. So just a reminder to help start your morning with a bit of Caribbean flair and flavors. Use our code Nicole Palmer, that's NICOLEPALMER, to get a discount off your purchase when you shop Caribou. And of course, we're going to have the link in the show description. Thanks again, Beverly, for coming on and sharing your story, sharing the Caribou brand, and sharing, some of your challenges, your wins, your failure as a way to help our audience cultivate confidence, overcome fear, and of course, define success on their own terms.
Thank you, Nicole. It's such a pleasure to be here, and I really enjoy our conversation. So thank you so much for your time, and to all the viewers, thank you for stopping by, and feel free to reach out.